So that was the time when you studied still fashion design.
That was during my last year of fashion, and
Yeah,
that's
fashion.
really what pushed me into textiles. I found
Okay.
that love for that hands-on work, and I thought, I think it would be a shame to stop here.
Yeah. So the textile design, so you love the fact that you can create.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me about then the switch, the next the textile design. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think at first, it was interesting because I came from a fashion perspective at first, thinking about textiles on the body. And then I
Okay.
had professors and mentors on this new program who were like, we're not starting on the body, we're starting off the body. Um, and just thinking about creating things in space very, very, very freely, which is an adjustment to make. But at the end, I think it opened up so many new pathways, and you can always come back to the body later. And I think that's really beautiful. Um, and yeah, I think I also started to bend and break more rules. So I think, for instance, sewing and knitting together and kind of integrating those two together, going deeper into. I do a little bit of machine embroidery and very unorthodox hand embroidery. It's very intuitive. I have no like formal teaching in it, but I'm kind of allowing that to mimic the code of the knitting. And I think also seeing that there are similarities in that, because in machine embroidery, you do have to code something on a computer as well. So kind of pushing those boundaries of media and translating things between different surfaces. And yeah, often like knits and wovens are just not mixed together. It's something that you just don't do. Just because of the structure of the fabric, the way one pulls is very different from the other. So yeah, I think pushing those boundaries, pushing boundaries of color. And I had some mentors who really, really like pushed me to just make big things as well, which
Really.
I never thought to. I'm very like intricate, and I like to, and I think also learning to kind of improvise as you go is a big thing. And I learned that a lot as well. I think once you have enough knowledge and you understand the material enough, you have to learn to trust yourself to just make. And I think because you have that knowledge, you will make something that ultimately speaks to your practice, speaks to your ideas. And, you know, coming from fashion, you always plan things, you sketch things out very precisely. You kind of, I mean, there's different styles in fashion that are also more improvisatory, but I came from this idea of very planned out. I'm a very
Yeah.
naturally organized person. So kind of learning to, okay, understand my rules that I've kind of created for myself and then just let things happen was very magical, because then you really are able to come into like a trance, and you could like you could just not make that scale of work, I think, in that amount of time if you overthought things. And
Yeah.
I'm queen overthinker, so
Oh, okay.
it
No,
was
but
a good
I'm
achievement. Yeah.
yeah, I'm thinking now that because you know, when you make a dress, for example, you have to have a pattern and you have to work according to some, you know, you have to have a specific fabric to go for that specific style. So this must have been amazing for you to just let go and just do. And like you say, knitting and fabric, uh, and even knitting has a pattern, you know, if you really
Yeah.
knit according to a pattern. So it must have been amazing to just break these rules, to just see what happens, because I think we rarely do that.
It's true. And I think so. I made like a bodysuit for my friend who modeled the piece for me.
I
And
saw, is that the one on Instagram?
yeah, that's the
Yeah.
embryo one where she's connected to all the
Yeah.
pieces.
Mm.
And I remember, I'm so lucky that she's such a great friend. She's so patient with me. She came over to me, like, and I would fit things on her. But I remember that kind of pattern making was the first time I really allowed things to be fluid, because I think when you design for a body, you do need to calculate things, and you need to like gauge the stitch size for the yarn, and you have to write all these things down, and otherwise it kind of just, if you want to make something that isn't cut and sewn together and that is like we call fully fashioned, you do need a lot of calculation. And I think I'd come into a flow with her that I was able to be very loose with numbers all of a sudden and kind of just improvise my way along the page and kind of work by seeing as well, which is different. So yeah, I think it's very freeing when you're able to know the rules, and in certain situations you respect them. And then I think in other situations you need to be able to just trust that you know enough to make something work. So I think that was amazing about the textiles program. It was very freeing and very freeing, but also it taught you to find that confidence in yourself that once I never say I mastered anything, because I think there's always a million other ways to do something, but if you have a system in place that you can work with, I think, yeah, there are moments to build on that system and there are moments to just allow it to take over and see what happens. So